Is it possible to love two people at once? That question has probably crossed your mind quietly, late at night, when the world is still and honest. Not as a theoretical idea, but as something personal. Something real. Something that feels heavy in the chest and confusing in the heart. It is a question many people are afraid to ask out loud, because it seems to challenge what we have been taught about love, loyalty, morality, and identity. We live in a world that often demands simple answers to complex emotions. One or the other. Right or wrong. Stay or leave. Choose. Decide. Commit. But the human heart has never been simple. Love is not a switch that turns on for one person and off for another. It is not a limited resource that runs dry the moment it is shared. And yet, love is also not careless, not weightless, not free of responsibility. This is where the confusion lives. Between what we feel and what we believe we are allowed to feel. So let us slow down and sit with this question honestly, without judgment, without labels, without fear. Not to excuse harm, and not to glorify indecision, but to understand the truth of the human experience. Because understanding does not mean acting without integrity. It means acting with clarity. It is possible to love two people at once, but not in the way movies often romanticize it, and not without consequences, and not without deep inner conflict. The heart can hold more than one attachment, but the soul still longs for alignment. And that tension is where growth begins. Love is not one single emotion. It is a constellation of feelings. Connection, familiarity, desire, safety, admiration, history, hope. Love can be rooted in the past, anchored in the present, or reaching toward the future. When someone says they love two people, often they are loving different parts of themselves reflected in different people. One person may represent who you were. The comfort of what is known. Shared memories, inside jokes, battles survived together. The version of you that learned how to love for the first time. Letting go of that love can feel like erasing chapters of your own story. Another person may represent who you are becoming. Possibility, growth, new energy, the excitement of being seen in ways you did not know you needed. That love feels alive, electric, full of promise. And suddenly, you are torn between loyalty and longing, between roots and wings. This does not make you evil. It makes you human. But here is where honesty matters. Loving two people at once does not mean both loves are equal, and it does not mean both loves are sustainable. One may be love built on habit rather than intention. Another may be infatuation mistaken for destiny. Or one may be deep, steady, and real, while the other is intense but fleeting. The heart does not always know immediately which is which. This is why rushing a decision often leads to regret. We are often taught that love should be simple, that when you meet the right person, everyone else disappears. That is a beautiful idea, but it is not always reality. Life is messy. Timing is imperfect. People grow at different speeds. Sometimes love overlaps not because you are careless, but because life does not wait for clean endings. Still, overlapping love demands responsibility. The most important truth is this. You can feel love for two people, but you cannot fully give yourself to two people at once without dividing your integrity. Love without honesty becomes betrayal. Love without clarity becomes cruelty. Even if no one else knows, your spirit knows. So the question is not just whether it is possible to love two people at once. The real question is whether you are willing to confront what that love is asking of you. Because love always asks something. It asks for presence. It asks for truth. It asks for courage. Sometimes loving two people is not about choosing between them. Sometimes it is about choosing yourself. Choosing to pause. Choosing to step back. Choosing to stop hiding from your own confusion and face it directly. Because clarity does not come from external validation. It comes from stillness and brutal self-honesty. Ask yourself quietly, what am I holding onto out of fear? What am I reaching for out of hope? Which love aligns with the values I want to live by, not just the feelings I want to feel? Feelings change. Values endure. It is also important to understand that love alone is not enough to build a life. Love without compatibility becomes exhausting. Love without respect becomes painful. Love without shared direction becomes a slow erosion of joy. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that staying will cost you your growth. You can love someone intensely and still know that acting on that love would cause harm you are not willing to carry. This is where maturity lives. Mature love is not about chasing every feeling. It is about discerning which feelings deserve commitment. It is about understanding that not every love is meant to be lived out fully. Some loves are meant to teach you. Some are meant to heal you. Some are meant to prepare you. And some are meant to stay. Loving two people at once can feel like standing at a crossroads, paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. But the truth is, avoiding the choice is still a choice. One that often hurts everyone involved, including yourself. Clarity requires action, and action requires courage. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is create space. To not choose immediately. To not lean into either love until you understand your own heart. Distance can be an act of respect, not rejection. Silence can be an act of care, not avoidance, if it is used for reflection rather than escape. And if you are the one on the other side, the one sensing that someone you love may be torn, know this. You are not wrong for wanting certainty. You are not insecure for needing honesty. Love should not leave you constantly questioning your worth. You deserve to be chosen with intention, not convenience. No one should be someone else's emotional placeholder. If someone loves two people, they are not necessarily incapable of love. They may be incapable of clarity in that moment. And it is not your responsibility to wait while they figure themselves out, unless that waiting aligns with your own boundaries and values. Love should expand you, not shrink you. At the deepest level, loving two people often reveals an internal split. A disconnect between who you are and who you think you should be. Between comfort and growth. Between obligation and desire. And the work is not to silence one side, but to integrate them. To become whole enough that your love comes from a place of alignment rather than lack. When you are aligned, love becomes simpler, not because life is easy, but because your choices are clear. There is no shame in admitting that your heart feels divided. Shame thrives in secrecy. Healing thrives in truth. Speak honestly to yourself first. Strip away the stories you tell to justify staying stuck. Look at your actions, not just your intentions. Ask whether your love is generous or self-protective. Ask whether you are choosing what feels good now or what feels right long-term. Love is not just about what you feel when someone is near. It is about who you become when you are with them. Do you feel more honest, more alive, more grounded, or more anxious, more fragmented, more afraid of being fully seen? These answers matter. It is possible to love two people at once, but it is not possible to live fully while living divided. Eventually, something has to give. And often, what gives first is peace. The goal is not to suppress love. The goal is to channel it wisely. Sometimes the most loving decision is to let one love remain unacted upon, honored quietly, without turning it into a wound. Not every love story is meant to be lived loudly. Some are meant to be released with gratitude. Some are meant to end not because they were wrong, but because they were complete. And sometimes, loving two people is the wake-up call that you have not been loving yourself fully. That you have been seeking fulfillment externally instead of cultivating it internally. When you are rooted in yourself, love becomes a choice, not a rescue. In the end, love is not about how many people you can feel for. It is about how deeply you can show up with integrity. It is about alignment between heart, mind, and action. It is about courage over comfort, truth over avoidance, depth over drama. If you find yourself loving two people, do not panic. Pause. Reflect. Be honest, be kind, and be brave enough to choose the path that allows everyone involved to heal, grow, and move forward with dignity. Because love is not measured by intensity alone. It is measured by the care we take with one another's hearts. And the most powerful love of all is the kind that does not betray who you are becoming. Sit with that, let it settle, and when you move, move with clarity.